the wicked way the professional will come. What's going on, everyone? Welcome to Movie Emporium's movie review of Dust Bunny, the first official directorial effort by Bryan Fuller. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, have you ever wanted a whimsical Leon the Professional? Have you ever wanted a child and lone wolf situation where a hitman is hired by a young girl to basically kill the monster under the bed, which could lead into very other things? Think about if, hitmen are trying to kill you as well as your family. And that is this movie. She is a young, precocious girl that is played by Sophie Sloan, who plays Aurora. And she hires a character that is called the neighbor that is played by, of course, Mads Mikkelsen. And in the process, her family is eaten by this creature, this monster under the bed. And she hires this hitman to basically kill it, but the hitman, of course, is not going to believe that a girl has a monster under her bed because she is a hitman, and then he knows that people will come after her. Well, he also has people like David Dastmalchian, who's another hitman, and Sigourney Weaver, who, of course, plays, I would say, the handler, similar to, something like John Wick and stuff like that. And, of course, Sheila Atim is in this as the kind of person that looks after children in a welfare place and stuff like that. So it's a fantasy, whimsical movie that is in the same style of what, Bryan Fuller's other stuff is, like similar to Pushing Daisies or Dead Like Me in a lot of respects. So there you go. Okay, so the trailer for this movie is one of my favorite trailers of the year, to be fairly honest. I think it's an incredible looking trailer. Bryan Fuller has created some really amazing TV shows that have not necessarily lasted very long. I think Pushing Daisy lasted 2 seasons. Dead Like Me lasted 2 seasons. Of course, he did Hannibal, the TV version, which lasted like 3 seasons. So he is a guy that is very talented, but his stuff doesn't really usually last. He's also worked on Star Trek and stuff like that. But this movie looked incredible. Like I said, Mads Mikkelsen is one of my favorite actors working today. I think he's fun. I think he's energetic. And then you have Sigourney Weaver in this movie, who I think is one of the best actresses of all time, maybe one of my favorite actors of all time. And the look and the feel of this movie was very much in the realm of Pushing Daisies, which I think is one of the greatest TV shows of all time. So you have the markings for me as a mark for a movie like this. With that said, this movie's garnered pretty favorable reviews, like a 93% on Rotten Tomatoes, which leads me into my honest review, which I think this is one of the great movies of the year. Now, is it a perfect movie? No, I think the visual look of this movie and the monster and stuff like that are a little cheap on the effects side, but I get what they're going for and I get why they did it the way they did, but it doesn't look very good. I think this movie's ending is a little suspect, to be fairly honest. I think it kind of just ends and doesn't feel like a really satisfying ending. And I think the third act overall is just a little dampened by the fact that it becomes an action sequence. But what I think about this movie that works really well is everything else. I think Sophie Sloan and Mads Mikkelsen are one of the great duos of the year. I think Sophia Sloan is giving one of the best performances of the year, to be fairly honest. Won't get an Oscar nomination, but I think her performance is fun, is energetic, is whimsical, is horrifying to watch that she thinks she has a monster under her bed. I think just the fact that she's able to hold up against Mads Mikkelsen, and even Sigourney Weaver, is a pretty incredible performance, and she does it with style and substance. And on top of that, she rides around on a brass or bronze hippo, which has wheels, and she uses it like a boat to keep herself off the floor, because if you touch the floor, you'll be eaten by the monster. But yeah, it's a really wonderful performance. And then she has Mads Mikkelsen to play off of, who is like one of the great talents that just everything he's in is just fantastic and wonderful. And just, he exudes this kind of charisma that only he could do. And it's one of those performances that just feels like authentic and real. And it leads into, like I said, the very over the top nature that Bryan Fuller is known for, the Barry Sonnenfeld, the way this movie looks and stuff like that. So he really plays very well off of her character, and some of the violence that happens is quite funny. To be fair, it's horrifying, but it's quite funny because of how Sophia Sloan's character Aurora just reacts to everything like a true adult. So it's a really wonderful performance, and once again, she works really well off of Mads Mikkelsen. And then, like I said, you have Sigourney Weaver, who plays Laverne, who is like this handler character that warns and is almost like truly friendly, but also not friendly with the hitman, who has no name in this movie. The way she acts, the way she interacts, the mannerisms that Sigourney Weaver does is just perfect her. It actually reminds me of her, her performance, spoiler alert, in Cabin in the Woods, where it's just kind of over the top and strange and just very much Sigourney Weaver doing something completely different. And then you have Sheila Atim in this movie that's supposed to be like the person that, is child welfare, but there may be something more to her. And the fact that, the character like Mads Mikkelsen's Hitman character kind of knows who she is. And then, of course, you get David Dastmalchian, who's like the most overused actor at this point. But I love him every time I see him because he knows what kind of films he likes. He knows the oddball nature of who he is and what he is, and he's willing to go for it. And him playing a hitman in this movie is just a lot of fun. It's really cool to watch. But Bryan Fuller is known for doing this very whimsical, like I said, Barry Sonnenfeld did the same thing, but Bryan Fuller as himself is an individual that feels like he can mix in that, Luc Besson's, but American style version of it with the heightened colors of the world and like the angles that he uses, similar to like what Tim Burton, Barry Sonnenfeld used. And the fact that like the visual effects and how it moves around the world and how he like angles cameras and stuff like that. It just feels stylized, and sometimes they use like fisheye lens with like the with the blurriness around the screen. It feels very fantasy. It feels very dreamlike in a lot of respects, but it's also, like I said, whimsical. It's very graphic in its nature. It has a dark sense of humor that really plays very well. So once again, I really love this movie. It's one of my favorite movies of the year, to be absolutely honest with you, in a year that's really incredible, to be fair. Be absolutely honest with you, and I highly recommend this for anyone who wants that whimsical feel, that very kind of darkly funny, darkly unique, but also very gorgeous to watch, very beautiful. Once again, Sigourney Weaver wears shoes that have guns on them, so take that for what it's worth. So anyways, with that said, that is my take on Dust Bunny, which is going to be in theaters, and I'm sure VOD shortly after that. So definitely check it out. You may not like it. I mean, that's perfectly all right, but, it's really, really good. So that's my honest opinion. With that said, that it will be my take on Dust Bunny. I do appreciate you watching. In the comments below, have you ever seen anything from Bryan Fuller, Pushing Daisies, anything of that nature? If not, what's your favorite Mads Mikkelsen movie? Let me know in the comments. But otherwise, if you like what you see on this channel, hit the subscribe button to join Movie Emporium. Hit that notification bell, top to find coming next. If you like this video, awesome. Hit that like button. And as always, we'll see you guys on the next video. Peace out, guys.